stalled or the ones that are stalled or the ones that lack essential amenities like toilets, the ones in Jiru, Mathare North, Dandora, Area 4 and Molem. Just those four so that I can live.
Molem, there is Super.
Because there's one center.
Yeah, in Super.
I agree. So the question was if we have qualified or trained ECDE teachers.
Oh yes. In all our schools, we are close to 1,000. They are qualified and they're trained. Chair, we've not done a recruitment for a while. You realize the quagmire we have also with the ratio, but we're going to do it. I think for all store projects, Chair, our intention is to finish. They're not just in schools. Whether it's roads, etc. It's a budgetary issue. It is just a revenue issue. But we intend, in this current budget that we have, we reduced new projects so to complete all store projects. And that's a question that was in the devolution committee. Chair, earlier the senator had brought up that issue. A lot of the cancellation, Senator, have been coming from the Senate, and I can table that, including last week. I was supposed to be Public Accounts Committee. I received a letter on Monday telling me not to come. Public Investment Committee, the same. The only one was devolution, and I spoke to also Senator Catherine Muma. That one we will come and answer that question. A very important thing has been raised by the senator, and I'll tell you, Senator, I agree with you fully. If it was up to me, every single child in Nairobi should be on dish in accounting. Every single child. Chair, we're feeding 316,000 children every day. We've built 17 central kitchens. Our partner has one big kitchen that has 60,000 meals. We've published regulations that now will allow even the public, because we'll set up a board, that has people from the private sector, the auditors, ETC, whoever, so that it's owned by the public. It's really, it's mainly a resource question. So what we've done, Senator, we've mapped out all the informal schools closest to a public primary school. Because what we intend to do is that at lunchtime, if a child is in an upward school, in Mathare for instance, at lunchtime, they can go to Runo Primary, have lunch and go back to their school. Because you cannot deliver to all of those schools, but we're looking at the closest ones. To deliver it, we need to build an extra 68 kitchens to actually fill that capacity. Because as you've said, if you look at a third, compare 20 kitchens vis-a-vis the population, we're looking for support, monetary support to actually build those extra kitchens. It would be ideal. What I don't agree with is saying that we should not feed the ones we can, so that, because we can't feed all of the ones we can. Today, Chair, if you go to most parts of the city during a school day, you will not find the children would find during the day, street children, because they're in school because of food. These children don't even finish their food. They pack it and take it back home to their parents or to their siblings. It's a dire issue. In fact, my challenge now is what to do during the holidays. Because many parents are saying, yes, thank you, you cover them during the school days, but the holidays, we have a problem in some areas, Now, once these regulations are done, of course, we should depend on a reliable stream of resources. But using this watch, Chair, you will be able to adopt a child. People in the private sector can say, I'll feed a child for a month, I'll feed a child for a year. It is not sustainable, but it's the best that we can do for now. Chair, if we got additional resources, even a grant. In fact, if you look at the money, and I would like you as a committee to call NACONEC, the national body that deals with school feeding, some of those budgets should be transferred to us. Because you cannot compare the efficiency at all with what we do. So Senator, the plan is there. We're going to pilot in a few constituencies, mainly Mathare constituency, Waraka and Dagoretti North, which is where we have a lot of the upgrade schools. We'll pilot, but it's really a resource issue. It is not
we just address timelines, and then Governor wasn't there, and undertaking by the national government to match the money from the county in terms of a feeding program. Is that being done?
It is not. Chair, there was an undertaking to match shilling by shilling. We have invoiced the national government up to, because the last year was 800 million, we've actually updated the invoice. It's close to now 2 billion shillings that they need to match to the county. They have not done it. The intergovernmental agreement that we've signed, that is deposited, talks about a matching of shilling for shilling on the school feeding program. Not a cent has been sent to Nairobi County. We've been handling it ourselves. So, Chair, that is something also you can pick up. I have spoken to the CS, the current CS, Migos Ogamba. I had raised it to the former CS, what's his name? Machogu, and I've raised it at the highest levels of this government. So, Chair, also the Senate can assist us with that, so that they can honor their part of it.
Thank you, Senator Sifuna. Thank you so much. At least there was okay. I have a senator who came in. Please come on record. And Senator Sifuna, if you have any concerns that you want this committee to deal with, please forward them to us.
My name is John Kenya, Senator of Laikipia, member of this committee.
I should also say I'm a friend of the governor.
Chair. Okay, thank you. CS Senator Kavindu.
Yeah, Chair, mine is a suggestion to the governor. Before you build all those kitchens you want to build, how about transporting the food to the very needy children? Just transporting from one center to, ECDE to another one. Before you build.
Chair, thank you. And I want to thank you because from Machakos County, we get a lot of our onions and tomatoes for this program. We get Western grams from Busia County. We get, some provisions from Nyandarua, including cabbages. We get food from, it's an entire ecosystem, Chair. People just see the finished product, but the sourcing, the farmers, it's created 2,000 jobs. We have drivers and trucks, that do this work. It's a logistical issue. It is easier for the children to come closer to one center because we have one kitchen per sub-county, but we take the food to the serving stations in each school. Yeah. The informal schools you'll find have, one has 70 children, another one has 40, another one has 60. So if you do that, you'll spend a whole day just trying to cover. But we've mapped out, because there's a walking distance. Fortunately for us, the distances in the city are not too vast, and so they're close to those schools. But we'll be making an appeal to the Senate in terms of how you can actually support through a conditional grant to the county specifically for that. And the reason I'm saying this is that many counties might not need a feeding program, because in many rural counties, food is available somehow, and there's a social fabric. There's community. There's your grandma, the aunties, the relatives. It is very hard. But in Nairobi, I keep saying, if you have no money, you will sleep hungry, and you actually have nowhere to sleep. You can die of hunger, and your neighbor is having a party. Unfortunately, the urban poverty aspect of it, cities need to have such a program. You need it in Nairobi. You need it in Mombasa. You need it in Kisumu, and the cities with even Nyeri town. Because the kind of poverty. I'm sure you not believe, Senator Chair, there are more children out of school in Nairobi than in any arid county in this country. There are more children out of school in Nairobi than Turkana, than Garissa, than West Pokot, than Wajir. But we only see the affluent parts of the city. So we look at all those ideas. We're open to any idea that can help us reach more of our children.
Thank you, Senator Muma.
Madam Chair, I just took, before she goes, there's something that the governor mentioned about the national government matching a shilling for a shilling. Was it a political statement or is a letter to that effect?
The shilling for shilling matching is in the intergovernmental agreement that was executed between ourselves and the Ministry of Education. So it is not a political statement. It is actually a written and documented thing. We have invoiced them thrice, and we will keep invoicing. They say the budgetary issues, but the current budget, where there's a provision for school feeding at the national level, can be used to actually support or rather honor the commitment that was made to the children of Nairobi.
Thank you. Senator Muma.
Thank you, Chair, for the opportunity. Your Excellency, I have a number of questions. Chair, long before I joined the Committee on Education, I had asked some questions last year to the Governor and the Ministry of Education. Your Excellency, my questions are premised on the fact that the Constitution of Kenya and its benefits are supposed to accrue to every citizen, and in this instance to every child, on an equitable basis. Your county is a city, and it's a city county and a county city, and its largest population, in my view, is within the informal settlements. I have looked at in my question last year, and in the question that you were asked by this committee, you were asked about policies that you have for your education sector. Your response is to give the national government policy. You don't have any. In fact, to my answer last year, you said that there was a policy underway on VTC, but you did not have any on ECDE. My view is that you cannot implement a function effectively if you don't have a plan and a strategy around that function. So if we don't have a Nairobi County policy on early childhood education that contemplates what needs to be done in the informal settlements, we will never be able to deliver the right to education on an equitable basis or equal basis to children in informal settlements. So I would want to know, number one, what has stopped you from initiating a conversation to have an intergovernmental agreement, similar to the one you're saying about food, around the management of ECDE function within the schools. As you put it yourself, the property is yours, the schools were yours. So it's actually about you handing over a portion of that to national government, more than national government ceding anything to you. What has stopped you from having a collaborative agreement that enables you to take charge of the ECD function within the public schools? I want to give all the questions so that we move. Secondly, have you had any public participation concerns to listen to parents and learners in informal settlements to understand what they're going through in order to plan on how to provide for them? I know informal settlements are difficult to plan for, but under the NMS, we took hospitals to informal settlements because we were recognizing that the right to health accrues to them on an equal basis as others. So we must find a way of providing public services. What is it that Nairobi County will do 13 years after devolution to ensure that the children of those in informal settlements access education equally? I have looked at the numbers you gave me earlier, and you have, in my question, you had given me 227 ECD, public ECD centers. I think in the committee answer you have given 230, and I did ask that you give me a breakdown of how many of these public ECD facilities are located in informal settlements, and the breakdown you gave me brought me to 31 out of this lot. 31 are informal settlements, and yet the bulk of the population that requires this is in informal settlements. Chair, in my question I actually asked for the population, and you gave me the figure of 762 persons aged below 6 who require ECD services. So my question is, if you don't have a policy, how is your department planning for these learners? Or are these learners just left to fate and left to the mothers? As you have put it, in your feeding program, some of those children carry the food home because the situation is dire. So if the kids are sharing, the little public food is there, what is happening to those families around accessing actual education? It is something I would want you to look at. Secondly, I would want to know whether you have grants or any part contribution from partners on the school feeding program, and if so, how much have you received in that regard? But linked to my first question, if you had policy or if you have it, I would want to know what are you deliberately planning around support to the informal settlements so that we move from a paltry 31 facilities to support them, because the rest are actually supporting the middle class and the upper middle class. You have made reference to care centers, and I think care centers makes sense for urban areas like Nairobi, could actually be useful facilities for purposes of supporting single mothers and families that need actually to go out and look for livelihoods. I would want to know whether you also have a policy around care centers, how that differs from ECDE, and whether you are actually deploying any budgetary allocations towards these care centers. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Kinyua?
Okay, Madam Chair.
Governor, I think it's easier that way, isn't it?
Madam Chair, there was a big story about 1 million chapati, which you made every student or learner in Nairobi believe that they'll be eating chapati every other day. I don't know whether it was a political statement or it happens, because looking at what you have provided, you give for feeding program, I'm not seeing anything like or anything close to chapati. Secondly, I'm looking at the budget. Your recurrent budget is drastically reducing. What does that mean? Is it that maybe some of your employees are retiring, or what's exactly the reason? Because it's your budget. If I look at the year 2022, recurrent was 2, and the year 2023-2024 was 1.9. The year 2024-2025 was 1.8. So why the reduction? My third question is, Governor, how many ECDs have you built yourself in your term? And are they fully furnished? Because I had you explaining and I could not understand. You said the ECD centers in Nairobi, your explanation keep on differing, but it's standard. It is provided for in the policy. What is an ECD center? Would it change in Nairobi? You talked about enrollment because of the feeding program. The enrollment increased by 29%. Is this because of food, or is it an act of God? Because the population is increasing. It goes without saying, when the population increases, of course the enrollment will go up, whether you are feeding the children or not. So would you say with authority the 29% is caused by the feeding program? Again, did you inherit any of your teachers from the default? Well, Nairobi was a city. Did you inherit the people from the default city council? Was it city? Nairobi was not city council. City council, yeah. Did you inherit from the city council? And lastly, Governor, you mentioned about the criteria for you to issue bursaries, and you mentioned you have complied, Muranga, Makueni, okay. And the trend is very good because all these governors who have complied, they're all senators, which is very good. But you're missing the fourth one, who I don't know who he is. But what is the criteria? Because basically that's not your function, to be issuing bursary to secondary school and to colleges. What is the criteria, so that at least, because many of the governors who are coming here, they're telling us, who was telling us they have the pending bill? I think some governor came here and told us having pending bills. Are you not reading from the same script so that they would know what they're supposed to do, so that they can be allowed to give bursary, which is not their function? But of course we understand when there's difference between what the law says and what is on the ground. Now, my work is to skiz the ground. Thank you, Governor.
Thank you. I think I don't want to ask mine now so that you finish, but I want to only add one thing to what he's saying. You mentioned earlier, Governor, that this was transfer of functions actually. The intergovernmental relations agreement that you have signed is a transfer function. Was money followed? Is there money that was allocated to this function because it was transferred? Because even if it is bursary, we are talking of the agreement you signed, I think had bursary in it, and then you also mentioned that there is a 1 shilling to 1 shilling agreement. Does that bring back the functions, or what does it mean to transfer the function? You finish those, then I will ask my questions.
I'll start with the last one. Chair, the intergovernmental agreement or a requirement of the control of budget. If you ask many of us as governors, we don't see the bursary or scholarship support as a function that is being transferred. It is social protection, and social protection actually is a function of the county. Because the function of education is teaching the child, it is building those classrooms, it is paying teachers. We're not doing that. What we're doing is giving support. But the requirement was given by the control of budget, and we're just pragmatic that, okay, if the control of budget insists that we should do an intergovernmental agreement, all counties did the intergovernmental agreement and signed. Gazetting, 4 of us have gazetted them. Notification to the county assembly. So she's using Article 187. And so we're being pragmatic, saying, okay, if that is what you insist to do. Because you can imagine, Chair, a child who is in Form 2 on our bursary, which we have committed to from Form 1 to Form 4, and suddenly the money is not there. Where does that child go?
Yeah, we understand.
So we're just being pragmatic.
Yeah, we understand you. I want you so that you clarify that one answer.
But there was no money for it.
Yeah, it's the issue of social protection.
Yeah.
If you go for social protection, you'll do everything under social protection. But you have your own social protection even in health that is not sufficiently done. You have your social protection on these babies who are in formal sectors that is not done properly.
Yeah.
What as a committee we are interested in is the budget that has been given to a sector called education.
Yes.
And we are telling ourselves, what exactly must we do in that education sector? Must we be paying a university student who can go on strike if they don't get their right money? Because in fact the impact of that bursary to university did not stop the strikes. They went on strike because they didn't like the formula. They don't care who is going to do it, but they have said that we must go back to the original formula. So, although we have baptized it social protection, and you know this because you are a senator, we have baptized it social protection, we are affecting other sections, and we will be able to show you when we go to the VTCs what we are talking about. Of course, my biggest worry is what you mentioned, the numbers of your ECDE.
Yeah.
The numbers.
They're too low.
This is Nairobi. How can we be having this? But I hope you'll be able to give us also the figures of the number of primary schools you have, because I don't believe the primary schools in Nairobi are 230.
They're 210 actually, not 30.
210,
Yes.
which is a disaster
It is.
to begin with.
Yeah.
So it means we must build double the number of CCDs in between.
So
let me allow you to finish it, then we'll come back.
Yes, so Chair, what we're doing, that is a number that has been there since I was in class 2. Now I'm the governor, I have to build, and that's what we're building. That's why we're building 5,000 classrooms in this city. We don't have to build, you see, Nairobi is not like many counties that have vast distances. You may not need a new school, but you can build more classrooms. You can go up. You don't have to look, because land is extremely expensive in the city. If an acre of land is costing you 200 million shillings, that would be how many classrooms? You know. So what we're doing is adding more classrooms within the same centers, and then employing more teachers. Where we have land, like the example I've given, where we have public surrenders, you know, of land, when you do a subdivision scheme, and 10% comes to the county, is where we can do new schools. Chair, on the intergovernmental agreement to fund or to allow counties to also issue scholarships and bursaries, and I'll give you the figures that I said were different. In 22-23, for instance, we gave bursaries to 134,127 children. 134,127 children. And scholarships to 4,988. Scholarships are those who've done well in class 8, and so you support them from Form 1 to Form 4. In 2023-24, it was 119,000 children. That's half a billion, 595 million shillings, and 5,100 scholarships, because now we onboarded a new Form 1 class. The reason why, Senator Kinyua, you're saying the recurrent budget went down, was once the controller of budget stopped the issuance of scholarships and bursaries, in a supplementary we removed it, because then you need that figure to balance something different. So that is why you see a sharp reduction in recurrent, because that is a recurrent expenditure. Development expenditure has been either constant or going up, because it includes construction of ECDE centers, or construction of central kitchens, or just renovation of the facilities that we have. Chair, Nairobi needs that affirmative action in the number of schools it has. And I've explained the context, because I was born and I have grown up in this city. I know how the city was before multipartyism and how it became after. And many of you are older, including the senator who is my cousin, who I will not mention because it's very difficult. But she's my auntie. So, you know, because of age, I call her auntie. So, auntie senator, there's a reason why this infrastructure was not built. I'm sure that you've seen a clip one day, I even shed a tear, because that child needs a fair chance at life. No child chooses to be born in the slum or in the informal settlement. And the prerogative we have is to give them equality of opportunity. That a child born in Madari can have the same shot at life as a child born in Karen. The equalization is education. And if the thing that is bringing them to school is that they will get a meal and they will get off the streets. Chair, when I drive in this city, during the holidays, I find kids, whether it is outside Lavington, those children who will find there, and they come to me, they know my car, and ask them, why are you guys out here? They say, you know, during the holiday, there's no food. So we have to come look for the food. Chair, there's a young girl called Mildred, who, when we were doing scholarships last year, 2024, January, I met her. It was at Nairobi Milimani. She was wearing this watch. So I asked her, Mildred, you're getting a scholarship to go to Form 1. This watch is only for primaries. All my children wear this. This is a tab to it. This is what we use to verify that we have permission. This child is called Kavindo, and maybe there's this allergy or not. I can even tell how many children are going to school today based on this. Yeah. So she was still wearing it. So I asked her, Mildred, why are you wearing this? And she said she's an orphan in Kangemi. She's been living with her grandmother. She had never gone to school for 3 days straight until, and so she was performing very badly. Until when we introduced this program in third term of 2023, is when she went to school for every day. She moved from the bottom of her class to top 10 in the city. And she got a chance to go to Loreto Convent, Limuru. So she said, because, yes, quoted your school. So she said, because of this, yeah. So she said, because of having this chance at an education, she will never remove it. So in fact, now what I have to do is to keep refreshing her watch, because it's a symbol for her. The reason I wear it, I don't eat in those schools, but it's a commitment. It reminds me of the commitment of these children. And Senator Kinyua, 29% is because of food. The population does not grow by 29%. The population of Nairobi grows by 4%, 3 to 4% annually. I was talking to the headmaster of Hospital Hill Primary School. The head teacher tells me they have a waiting list of 6,000 parents who want to bring children to that one school because of food. So yes, what we've done is a pilot. We've shown that it is possible, that it can be done consistently. Yeah, to date we've done 60 million meals. 60 million, meaning we fed the whole country plus 10 million. it is scalable. And now with these regulations, and we'll have the board, you will see your people, you know, whether it is your Safaricom CEO there, KPMG, who not sitting in that board, and a secretariat. Nairobians can be able to support a child or sponsor a child and for it to be audited. So Chair, for the bursaries and the food, there has been no additional budgetary allocation, but our intergovernmental agreement on food specified a shilling for shilling matching, it just hasn't been done. And so the national government owes us that money. They owe us, and if you can help us get it, we'll be very happy. But it's a commitment made, it's on paper, it is signed. When I go to Senator Kinywa's questions, before I come to Senator Catherine Muma, the percentage growth is directly attributable. And I'll be very happy to table a report, Chair, of a study being done by the University of London, College of Hygiene and Health Sciences, on the health outcomes of these children. These children are much healthier. We're actually monitoring. Chair, every day we have labs. And I'd like, by the way, if this committee one day can come on a tour for me to showcase what this process is, from beginning to end, and we go to the schools. I would really...
We enter the 2 counties after meeting the governor. We go to the counties. So we are coming.
Wonderful. That will be great. And so we test, we have our labs, every single cauldron used, container used, every surface. When the food goes to school, the temperature is checked. If it is below a certain temperature, that food is not served. The container is sealed. The trucks are specialized. You know, it is a highly logistical exercise, and I thank God that it has been successful for the time it has been there. You know, I don't want to cause karma by saying anything, but we have had no single incident since 2023, that time to 2025. The question on the chapatis, you know, it was humorous, but it's a real, you know, the children really wanted it, and they really want it. And so the 1 million came because I was saying, look, if I feed 300,000 and each one takes 3, of course that comes close to 1 million, but doesn't mean that you'll do that every single day. The machine that we have found does 6,000 to 8,000 a day. One has been paid for by the president. We are procuring the other one. And so some schools now can have it, you know, it's not every day. You know, some schools can have today in one part of the city, we're in 6 barrels. Another barrel can have the next day or another day, but the children love it. You know, school feeding cannot be how it was when we were kids, where you're given food that is boring, that you don't enjoy. It has to be nutritious, but also tasty and also exciting for the children, you know. And our food is actually very, very tasty. It is nice. One day, if we walk down the road...
Maybe, Governor, as you're talking on that, so that I don't come back to it,
yeah.
School feeding programs.
Yeah.
What is the relationship between building kitchens and having a service provider?
So the service provider, Chair, runs the service. The infrastructure is ours. So we built 17 of these central kitchens. Each of them does between 15 to 20,000 meals. But the employees there, running the buses, sourcing the food, you know, whether it is carrots, tomatoes, whatnot, is done by someone we have contracted called Food for Education. Because one, we saw that they have actually skin in the game because they have a huge kitchen that already built. When I was in the Senate, you remember when we had the Mang Bills bill by Senator Eno. You know, I spoke about what I saw in the Senate. Remember during COVID, there was a lot of vandalism that happened in schools. And so with friends of mine, I went to donate some desks in a few schools, in Olympic, in Dagoretti North, Katina Primary, and in Kinyanjui Primary. When I went to Kinyanjui Primary in these schools, normally when you go there, they'll say, oh, Senator Kinywa, we're happy to see you, we're excited. Then you ask the children, what do you want? They would say, we want a basketball, or they would say they want a school bus. But children started saying, we want food. And so I tried to bring an amendment into that bill to say that the national government must provide for school feeding by getting it from the farmers. Unfortunately, the bill didn't see light of day. I think it was reintroduced in this Senate. The number of counties that actually are contributing, you know, to the program, I would love to list for you. including, now unfortunately Uasin Gishu is not benefiting because our product is maize and we're not doing ugali yet. But some parts of the city actually the children want ugali. That is Westlands, Kangemi and Kangware. The children are saying, I don't know why. But they're saying that. But I've just forgotten. There's something specific you've asked. Sorry?
No, I think you have answered that one.
Yeah.
It was a relationship between
Yeah, so the infrastructure is ours.
provider and the infrastructure.
Yeah.
Because some of these ideas, Governor, some of the ideas you give us, we also transmit to other governors.
Yeah.
So where we have something positive, we pick from you. Where we have something negative, we tell you what the others have done.
So I was explaining when I saw that issue in the Senate, and I went to those schools. I was invited to a school called Mukarara Primary by the MP for Dagoretti South. Mukarara Primary had one kitchen built by this, or rather run by this institution called Food for Education that I saw. And I said, we need to replicate it. So when we actually engaged them and tendered, because they had skin in the game, in industrial area, they have the biggest kitchen in Africa that does 60,000 meals. And they started in Ruiru. If you just open it up, many brokers and entrepreneurs will come and say, oh, I can also do feeding, I can do it. But you need somebody with the expertise and with the passion to do it. So that is the nexus. And they've also built 7 of their own kitchens themselves. They are funded. They've gotten funding from the Children Investment Foundation Fund. I've seen there's a question on external funding. SIF has funded them. The only external support we've gotten was by the French government. In 2024, was it 2024? When we went to, I'll confirm, I think 2024, when we had the climate summit, that was in 2023 or 2024, one of the French ministers who came, called Crisula, she was the Minister of State, asked me to take her to see this program, and I took her to Kibra. And when I took her to Kibira, she was so excited because she saw a school with 6,000 children and all of them eating. So she committed a grant of 1 million euros. But the 1 million euros was sent directly. We told them, support our partner. So that 1 million euros was sent to Food for Education, not to the county government of Nairobi. But Food for Education is audited on that. And the Auditor General has actually spoken to that. We've answered the questions. What that 1 million euros does is to support 10% of the children who can't afford the 5 shillings. It's hard to believe there are parents who can't afford that 5 shillings even, at 5 shillings per day. Such that there's no child who is taken out of the line for food. We cannot, there's no worse, I don't know how to use, lack of dignity than to be pulled out of a lunch line for a child. And I've told schools to never do that. If a child completely doesn't have it, I'll fund, I will pay. So normally it's 10%. We've seen in schools, it's almost like indigence in health. It's normally around 10% of those who can't afford completely. Chair, Senator Kinyo, I hope I've answered your concerns. On the current scholarships and bursaries, I've given the numbers that we've done. And just think about it. If in 10 years, Nairobi has had governors and the mayors, we've had almost 4 governors. We've had Governor Kidero, Sonko, Kananu, NMS. In 10 years, they did 3 billion. In 2 years, they did 2 billion. In 10 years, 3 billion. In 2 years, 1.88 to be precise, billion. It's just this last year that the control of budget stopped us. But I'm glad even after yesterday's meeting, we're going to resume. And it's good for me using this platform to tell the parents of Nairobi that our program is resuming for bursaries and scholarships. Let me come to Senator Muma's questions.
Because Madam Chair, just clarification, because he's so passionate about the issue of Dishina County. On page 4, on top of that page 4, I'm seeing the beneficiary ECD centers is 31 public ECD centers. Do you mean, because that one you're throwing me off balance, I'm seeing you have 230 public ECD centers. What does that mean? Does it mean these 31 are the only...
The standalone. The question was a standalone. But it's actually 231, the ones which are within our primary schools.
No, I'm looking at beneficiary because I'm following up. It's about food.
Yeah.
Page 4 on top, we are discussing food and the beneficiary is 31. Is it that the 31 are the ones that you are feeding only?
We are feeding 200 and how many? 230 schools. Then this must be an error. But remember, I explained, it is only 31 ECD centers that are on their own, that are not within a primary school.
Oh, David Preston, I thought, I'm looking at it in continuation to food, so I thought you're giving.
Sorry about that. So it's actually 316,000 children, you know.
316,000 children are being fed.
Every day.
Yeah.
316,000.
Maybe so that I dropped my question which I had earlier, and you picked it when you talked of donor support.
Yeah.
Why would you give a donor to a service provider instead of controlling the funding yourself? Because this thing you call food for education, by the way, is very attractive to any donor.
It was the donor.
So long as they know it is ring-fenced for that purpose.
Yeah.
But if you start spreading, it means you'll be looking for donors, and your service providers will be looking for donors, and you will meet. You will meet on the table of the donor.
Yeah.
And I'm saying this because this is not the only donor you have. You can have Safaricom doing something, you can have all the others who are doing their social responsibility can also do the same. So why are we diverting it? I'm worried because in arid lands, some counties are giving free food 100%. And we have met governors here who give free food 100% to children in ECDE. The reason they have partners. The minute the partners think they are giving money to a service provider, they will run away from even the Nairobi good thing.
Chair, now that we have the regulations, they can provide for that direct funding to us. That time there were no regulations. We've now published those regulations. And at that point, it was the funders, wish to actually support this NGO. You see, the service provider is not like a vendor; it's actually an NGO, that attracts such funding. Now that we have regulations, all support to Dishina County will be coming to the county government. Chair, that will be neater, and I agree with your suggestion. It will actually be neater and easier for us to account for it, and to say for sure this amount has been used in this manner. Chair, that one I take your advice.
What to Muma's question, please?
So yes, so Senator Anti, number one. It is.
Governor, you're out of order.
Sorry. Anyway, let me go to the questions. The education policy, generally, if you look at the fourth schedule of the Constitution, general education policy is domiciled with the ministry, with the national government, and counties implemented. For informal, what is that? What we have in terms of legislative intervention for the city, or rather our framework, one, we have Child Care Facilities Act that we've actually done in Nairobi to regulate that space. We have developed regulations then to operationalize that law, and we can be able to submit that. Actually, public participation around that is going on. We are trying to look at which framework we can have, because we've had meetings, formal meetings with these APBET schools and the ministry. And we're saying that, look, there needs to be, and I agree, Senator Muma, there needs to be a specific policy around this APBET. APBET means alternative provision of basic education and training. There are results that they have come up as a result of government not performing or not delivering to the people and not providing. If you go to the ministry says they don't recognize them. They don't recognize them. You cannot do an exam in that APBET school. And so I agree on the need for a specific policy around the informal APBET schools, but the correlation of the number of schools in the informal settlements may not necessarily reflect how many of the children in informal settlements are in our schools. Because you find in every informal settlement in Nairobi, neighbors are semi-affluent or affluent area. So for instance, if you go to Muthaiga Primary School, there's no child from Muthaiga. They are from Madare. If you go to in Runda, Gidogoro, what school is in Runda? Cheleta. It's not a child from Runda per se in that school, but it's a child from Gidogoro in that school. So the number doesn't necessarily directly reflect on who is in the schools. It's just where the schools were built. but the schools are very close. Every estate in this city that is affluent or semi-affluent has an informal settlement next to it. And so the children of the workers of the houses in Karen or in Runda or in whatnot are the ones going to those schools. Now, the problem is land tenure in the informal settlements in terms of being able to find a space to build. So where we have space to increase the capacity or to build more schools, you'll find, for instance, Westlands Primary. The children in Westlands Primary may not be the children from the houses in Westlands. They're from Kangemi, they're from Deep Sea, informal settlement next to Westlands Primary. If you go to my former school, Aga Khan Primary, now the children in Aga Khan Primary are from Deep Sea and High Ridge. They're not the Asians that we went to school with in the same school. So that is the disconnect, or rather the dichotomy that we have in the city. We really must build more classrooms. If there's any program that I've seen the president doing that of course I support most of his programs, but one that I feel speaks to the hearts of parents, it is building classrooms in Nairobi. Every MP got around 58 million shillings through CDF to do 33 classrooms in the city. When that 1 billion was introduced and they were doing 1 billion per year, the National Assembly, other countries said, why is it only for Nairobi? The president himself intervened and said, no, this city has that need for the schools. And it's been done year on year, and we're also doing our bit as a county government. So I'm really open to engage, because we've had public participation sessions with the people in the informal settlements. I go there sometimes, and just listen. And my team does it. In fact, some we do there, some we bring them to Charter Hall when we want a more structured meeting with organizations. We don't do it in the informal settlement, we bring them. Because if you go there, then the discussion moves from what you've gone to discuss on education and becomes Omaji and there are many other, pressing needs at the same time. But I would want us to, and I would request this House, because the Senate sits at a place of such great authority and responsibility, that if the Senate, on its own motion, together with educationists, to bring people from different sectors, to come and help us create either policy intervention around what do we do with informal settlements. Because I've said the prerogative we have as senators, and I still consider myself a senator, because I've been in the Senate longer than I've been a governor, is equalization of opportunities. If you equalize opportunities, this country will be good. If Kinyua knows that his child has the same chance in Laikipia to be whatever he wants to be as a child in Kisumu or in Nairobi, we won't even care who is the president. Every Kenyan will be okay. On the issue on...
Chair, just allow me to do a follow-up on that.
Yeah.
I happen to be on the Nairobi delegation, much as Kisumu, not Kisumu Rural, Kisumu Nyakach. I would want us to take the governor seriously on that point. And Governor, I am happy with whoever else as the committee may plan, for us as this committee to sit with you, if you allow, and your technical team, for us to be able to assist on what it will look like to have a county policy, particularly around the informal settlements. They are also coming up in cities like Kisumu and Mombasa. I think it would help to resolve a big issue, not just for Nairobi, but for the country. I would be happy as a human rights person and a member of this committee, chair, with your permission later, to be able to move on.
I'll be very happy to share. We had a task force that was done in a task force report 2014, thereabout, by the first county government, that of course needs updating, but really started looking at that discussion, at those issues. I know Humphrey Watanga was there, the now KRA boss. It would be good to update it and see, okay, practically then what does that mean in terms of financing, in terms of the grants, in terms of even looking for external support, in terms of what moves from the ministry to cities that have informal settlements. Because it's a big problem. And remember, you will not solve the issue because you create a vicious cycle. A child who is born in that environment and then does not go to school properly and then grows up and also then has a child, you're just creating a vicious cycle that replicates in our cities. And it's a ticking time bomb, Chair.
Governor, there's an organization which we met some days back, African Population Health and Research Center, which have done a lot of research on that area, and they say they are working with the county government of Nairobi. So I don't know whether you are aware of that.
I know HRC, we're doing a lot of policy work with them. Additionally to that, by the way, you know, when you talk about early childhood, many people think early childhood is just about school. The interventions needed for children start from conception. And we're working with Big Win Philanthropies together with the HRC to look at the nutrition of the mother, the training of the parental training during pregnancy. And it's a program that started, you know, it's been done in Addis Ababa, and I've seen how they've done it. Facilities for children to play, because what happens between age 0 and 2 becomes irreversible in many cases, even if you do now the classrooms at ECDE. So it's a very comprehensive program that we are working on with HRC and Big Win Philanthropies that starts at the point of conception, because you see, as a county, we are also handling health, you know, so we are at the hospital. So once we've found a mother is pregnant, how do we start working on that child? From the nutrition the mother has, the training. In fact, what happened in Addis is very beautiful, that men were told that the child can hear. So when men were told the child can hear, they stopped shouting at their wives and stopped fighting, and they were told to start singing. And so they were singing in the house for their spouses, because they're told that affects the child's mental development. So it's a program that I would love to present to you, because one aspect of it also is playgrounds in our estates. Swings and slides and monkey bars and sand pits. We're now doing 80 of them, courtesy of the grant that we got through that program. So I think these are discussions that we need to have very holistically. We can even do either some symposium, you know, really, between the counties with informal settlements, led by the Senate. You can bring different stakeholders, including this HRC, UNICEF as well, as has quite interesting programs. But these programs have never been brought together in a wholesome manner that only the Senate can do. You have more convening power than any county on its own, you know. So I'd really, please, let's follow that up, Chair.
Thank you. Maybe before you continue, there's a senator who has not come on record.
Thank you, Chair. Kamal Moranko, a member of this committee.
Thank you. Governor, you must appreciate that since the meeting moved from 9 to 10, there are so many other meetings going on, and that's why members have to move to go and give quorum in other meetings.
And yeah, Chair, I'm actually informed that I'm being waited for in another committee.
Of health. I've also been told then.
Health yielded. I was invited to health, education, and energy on the issue of public utilities and way leaves. You know, we had an issue on people. Yeah.
Let's rush with ours, and I think members will appreciate that since we got this document today, I think we might need a workshop so that we can look at these documents before we do our oversight in Nairobi County. Thank you. Yes. Oh, he has not finished.
I think, Chair, for now, because the last question really came from Senator Muma on the policy and overall approach to informal settlements, and I've listed what we have and my suggestion of what we can do to enrich that.
Thank you, and you know that is a subject very close to Muma's heart,
yes.
And she has done a lot of research around that. So I think, Muma, what I would suggest is if you have any subsidiary questions, please let's forward them to the governor to be answered later, and then
just allow me to say that, Governor, as a former senator or a senator, I expect on the matters of bursary, you would be helping the COG to move in the right direction. There is no function called social protection for counties. Social protection is like social welfare, security, and social protection includes housing, health, education. So we cannot say education for purposes of governance will become social protection in order for you to implement. So for those of you who are, let us maintain that national government must put enough money for those bursaries, and if you want to do it, you must be given that money as a conditional grant.
I agree completely.
Thank you, Senator Muma. Let's move, please. Vice Chair, you are done. You are led first, Vice Chair.
Okay, let me start from where Senator Muma stopped, because that was one of the key issues. We wanted governors to be in one understanding with us. By the way, we are
they killed another councillor, Lumumba, and burnt Bama Market to create an uprising between the two communities. It didn't work. The story of where we're sitting today, this was a church, you know, this and where parliament is, it was called the Tin Tabernacle, that in 1910 thereabout, because the Mzungu didn't want to be in the same church with an African, the government bought land and sent the Mzungu to All Saints Cathedral where it is today, and sent the black person to St. Stephen's, Jogo Road. And that's why this land became available for Parliament. Parliament even does not know its history. So if I start, I won't finish. There's so much on museums and the history of this city that we definitely need to curate, and that's something we'll be very happy to participate with. I've spoken to one, John Kamau. He writes on the Nation about history, and he's a historian at the University of Toronto in California, but he's a Kenyan. And so we should be able to do something very soon along that line. But I agree, you know, Senator Moa, without the policy, I forget that and I start dealing with the potholes and garbage. So the emergency of day-to-day makes you stop thinking of such big things.
If there were policy, you will be reminded by your chief officers. So, senators, please let's make a move. Please let's move to the question 16. 15.
Thank you, Chair. Question 15. The list of vocational training centers, we have 11 VTCs. And Annex 13 has the list. And they have become very popular because we have now introduced driving. So some of even what we're giving as bursaries to, you know, directly, at least 1 million per ward must go directly, that's 85 million to these vocational training centers. That's what we've agreed with the Education Committee in the County Assembly. Enrollments by gender and course, the fees charged per student, payments from parents, county government and development partners. We have listed the enrollment at close of second term was 1,114 trainees. We have set aside 71 million support trainees in the financial budget, plus the 85 million that will come when bursaries are able to resume. Affirmative action provided to disadvantaged populations, including persons living with disabilities and residents of informal settlements, in order to access the vocational training, specifying how VTCs integrate learners with disabilities. In collaboration with Girl Child Network, we've made 8 VTCs to be PWD friendly, providing ramps and wide doorways to accommodate wheelchairs and mobility aids. The adapted washrooms fitted with grab bars and wider cubicles. We've worked with Catholic Relief Services, CRS, and our Wezesha Vijana projects, given opportunity to vulnerable trainees in 5 of the VTCs, as well as Safaricom Foundation, Chair, additionally. And Chair, many people don't know the building code has been upgraded, but we have a KEBS standard in this country through the Bureau of Standards on disability access. And so on top of the VTCs, even works on walkways, how the walkways end, how the ramps are to accept wheelchair, the size of the doors of even buses or mass transit have already been specified under the KEBS Act, but many agencies, including national government and many counties, do not realize that because that needs to be implemented. Yet another thing for us to look at. Finally, the skills training provided in vocational training centers, including future plans, targets, lessons learned, and challenges faced during implementation. The 11 VTCs and 1 HCC trained in a range of courses, artisan and trade test. Courses are examined by NITA and the National Examination Council, and soon transition into Tibet CDSCC. So all of that, Chair, is an Annex 14. I submit, Chair.
Thank you. Yes, Senator Muma.
My traditional question again. Your Excellency, again, if you had a VTC policy, your department would be forced to know what is your catchment population like. So we would want, I'm sure if we stayed longer, we'd ask you how many of your Nairobi learners did not transition from secondary I don't know, let me just use the old school, from primary and secondary schools into tertiary institutions. How many have not been accounted for? How many others have become Nairobi population because they came from Kitui, Kakamega and all of that? And therefore, how are you designing the VTCs to be able to take this? And what we are finding as a committee, that governors have not taken the VTC function seriously. And yet, that is where the crux of the matter is in creating skills for jobs for young people in this country. So we would want to urge that this be taken seriously. We think the monies you are pouring in bursaries should actually be going to this function. You should actually be helping the nation to support this group that is falling through the cracks. And I would want to know also, in Nairobi, you have a lot of the big industries, but there is the national government, what do you call the program? Is it CAPS? Whatever it is, the industrial, the creation of the industrial parks by counties, where the national government is putting in some money and you're putting in some money. Beyond the traditional industry that we have, a lot of it manufacturing for export. What is Nairobi thinking through? Given I believe you have the largest number of young people who need to be skilled, and therefore you might want to add additional industry.
Thank you, Senator Kamar. Let us have all the questions, and then you can answer. Senator Kamar, please.
Yeah. Yeah, Governor, I think you have been asked about the transition thing that really worries us as a committee. When you talk of transition and you talk of 11, only 11 PTCs, 12 maybe, in Nairobi, Wasingishu has 14. And we are demanding more. Trans Nzoia has 32. I just want to give you the figures, the places we visited recently. Elgeyo Marakwet, 18. The population is in Nairobi. The buildings that are going on in Nairobi are so many. So it's going to go, it is costing you immigrants from other countries that are coming for labor jobs. Because if you don't have enough masons and you have a lot of buildings in Nairobi, then people have to migrate. Then it gives pressure to your water issues. It gives this thing of urban migration. You are attracting it completely just by not having enough of this here. So you become a victim of that kind of thing. So I'm asking myself, 11, I started 11, Your Excellency, when I was a member of parliament. Because I came from the university and discovered that most of my students were not going to university. So they were hanging somewhere. Most of my primary kids were not going anywhere. So I told myself, I set aside money from CDF. And I decided I was going to, when I reached there were two which were being closed. So I revived those two and shifted completely. Two of them, as you are talking of transition, two of my VTCs were transited to TTIs. And that was a constituency. Of course, they have lived a life of up and down. Even when we went there, some of the things were not very impressive. But I'm talking of population and transition, as Senator Muma is saying. You have offloaded from class 8s into the streets, and then we have also offloaded from 4s into the streets, because the passing rate of Nairobi to university is not more than 30%.
You know, there are those 11, but there are also 309 debates. There are so many private facilities in addition. Of course, we as a county should build more, but it's not that there are only 11 places of vocational training.
But what is that? What are they? You know, they are TTIs. We are not talking about TTIs.
No, the TVETs are doing vocational training through TVET on plumbing, engineering, mechanics, masonry,
this thing called what do we call that, certificate, the lowest certificate of NITA. Trade test, 3, 2, and 1 is what was given to the governor. So that you take care of your class 8, those who are exiting class 8, because we don't have enough secondary schools.
And the population in informal settlements who cannot afford those big.
We need more. Just add me money, I will build them.
You have money. That is why we are protecting your money from going to bursary. You are giving a bursary to a university student. You are giving your bursary to a scholarship to a university. 10 an hour. Those ones will go on the streets for themselves. You know, they go to the streets and they vent for themselves. Our worry is this one who left class 8 is in Nairobi street, informal sector. If there is no VTC in an informal sector in Nairobi.
For the churches, there's that the 11 plus another 40 that are private. But I completely agree with you on that issue of you know, if you help us, because you see we do bursaries because the need is so clear and there's a gap left by the national government. If they can actually make education free completely from primary and secondary. Completely.
Governor, we are with you there as a Senate.
We'll put all that
Governor, we are with you there as a Senate. What we are asking is let the money follow the functions. So if you want to give bursaries, please ask the national government to give you the money. What we want is let the money follow the function. Yeah, Senator Maruma. Maybe as Senator Maruma comes on, you could also give us the number of secondary schools in Nairobi.
I've been waiting before Senator Maruma.
Number 16. On the affirmative action provided to the affirmative action provided to disadvantaged populations, including persons living with disabilities and residents of informal settlements. In your answer, I have seen adaptation to do with ramps and wide doorways and washrooms, but the actually learning, the skilling, has not been captured. You know, the PWDs don't go through the normal curriculum of pre-primary, primary, what is it called, junior school, senior school. They go through initial numeracy and literacy, and then they transit to pre-vocational, then they go to vocational. So in answering this, you really need to tell us what they are learning in the content. Yes, the content, and how you are adapting in teaching the deaf, the blind. You know, what skills are they learning? That's what we need really here, so that everybody can be able to learn skills.
Okay, Senator Kavindu.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. My question was. It has disappeared.
Have I derailed you? You can think about it as he answers. Okay. Sorry for that.
Let me answer so I can answer.
Okay. Senator Kenyon?
Okay. I'm looking at the fees that is being paid to these VTCs. They are different. Then, even if the reason then you have very few VTCs is because even in some VTCs, I'm looking at Jericho. I'm reading page 523. Jericho has only 6 learners. No, 8. In fact, 8 learners. Kahawa Garrison VTC, I thought because it's army, there's no access, we only have 6. And in Jericho, we have 8. So there's no need of even increasing. You need these people to increase the number of
the numbers.
Yeah.
You know one thing.
Chair, I have it now. I can ask so that I can answer all
And
together.
the last one, before Kavindu comes, are these fees dependent on what course that the person is doing? Like, for example, a person doing mechanic will be charged at the same fees with the person doing hairdressing. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Mudama, please.
Yeah, the governor is saying that they need funds, but right now they are not giving bursaries because the controller of budget has stopped them. That money which was going for bursaries, it can build this VTC classes in our centers.
They have not received it. The bursary and scholarship program has come back. And you see, you need to see the context, that you see the budget also is a process. Budget making is political. It's a process that goes through the county assembly, where I have 124 MCAs who also have pressure because of this gap created by the faction who's supposed to do it not doing it. So they have pressure from the ground of the people saying, when the former MCA used to make sure that we get bursaries, now we're not getting. So it's a very political thing as well. I have pressure from those who already were on a scholarship program. If you're committed to pay somebody's fees from Form 1 to Form 4 and then it drops at Form 3 or Form 2, it is not right to just let go of them. So bursary is not something that can just be, left out. It must, we must be pragmatic in how we deal with it practically. I agree. These vocational training centers are too few. I completely agree with you. They are too few. This is a challenge that you're saying that, you're preaching to the choir. I was your chair of labor in this house. I believe that...
Well, your vice chair.
And you are my vice chair, yes. Senator Maruma. When I was a member of parliament, I created a law. I proposed a law called the National Employment Authority. That was my bill that created that institution. If you look at how we set up the board of the National Employment Authority, because I did 2 laws that were, for me, monumental. The first law I did was to bring 30% procurement opportunities. AGPO was my amendment in 2015 when I was an MP. AGPO was to make sure that 30% of opportunities in the public sector go to youth, women, and persons with disability. That if we can't give you a job or make sure you get employment, we can help you get an opportunity to do some biashara. So the first one was AGPO. The second bill I did, that President Uhuru Kenyatta assented to, he first sent a memorandum asking for a transition in the Ministry of Labor. And we agreed with it. It was National Employment Authority. And let me tell you why. It was because, number one, we realized that too many of our young people, I've seen there were students here, they're in high school. If you ask them what they want to do when they finish school, they have no clue. Or they just want to do what they think has money. In fact, these days everyone is doing procurement. I don't know why. For obvious reasons. We needed career guidance in schools to match the temperament. There are certain things you're built with, God has given you from the time you're a child, that will make you be a good doctor, that needs to be built on and to be seen when you're around that age of teenage, and then you align. That's why you see some people that are just good at what they do. Number two, many of us are victims of the Joint Admissions Board. The careers we find ourselves in are not because of the skills we had or what we wanted to do. It's just because that was what the universities had. So if you look at that law, in the board, there's the technical institutions, the TVETs, there is the universities, because what you're doing is we're postponing people's unemployment for 4 years. If you see the university churning out 1,000 people in anthropology every year, even actuaries, which I studied, you're churning out thousands of actuaries the country does not need. What are you doing? You're postponing unemployment. So in this National Employment Authority, we were supposed to have the employers, through the Federation of Kenya Employers, we were supposed to have a private sector alliance, the universities, the technical colleges, to sit and say, what skills does our country need, so that we change the curriculum and the content and the courses in our schools, including the VTC. So I agree with you. The second thing it was to do, it was of course to do, and which has become the biggest thing it does, labor migration. That's the only thing NEA is doing now. On people going to Saudi Arabia and Middle East, that is the only thing it is doing. But the other thing it was supposed to do was to create a database of skills available. The way, if you want today to get an Uber, you go to your phone and say, I want to move from CBD to Westlands. I should be able to say, if I want a plumber, I just go to my phone, I find somebody certified around me by government and engage them from nearby. And then there was a training component. If we sort out the NAIR Act and implement it as the spirit that was there before, we'd solve all of these issues. So I agree. There is no plumber who has no work in this country. There's always work. There is no mason who misses work, but we need to build more of these facilities. That one I concede. We are not doing as well as we should. We should actually increase the number of these facilities, and that's something I commit to do. When I come next year, you will see a change in terms of allocations and what we've been able to construct based on the resources that we have. I think the issue of PWD's access, content and what they're being taught, I can have my CC respond to that and the numbers kindly. But please look at NAIR, look at that law. It has the potential to sort out.
Policy.
There was a policy.
You have a policy? No, I'm saying yourself, you haven't committed to the policy.
No. The policy we don't have yet because we're doing it concurrently with the Act. And the Act is still going on. But it's something we need to fast track, the policy on vocational training. I agree.
Okay, thank you so much. I want to appreciate this honorable committee. I want to talk about the number of secondary schools that we have in Nairobi, the 180 number. About the PWD, we are using brailles for visually impaired persons. Then we provide the sign language in our VTC for even during the national examination. Then for the physically impaired, most of the courses that we are offering are friendly to them, so they have a chance to be part of our organization. Then you ask about the courses that we are providing and the cost that at the same time. The fees differ depending on the type of the course. If you're doing an artisan or craft or mechanical, there is a total different fee that you're supposed to pay. It only depends with the duration and the kind of course that you are taking. So from different levels, we providing, like for the motor vehicle, mechanical, you will see it's ranging per term for about 15,000 per term. So the total amount that they pay per year, with the course runs for a duration of 1 year, is 40,000. So it keeps on changing. That one I submit, Madam Chair.
So do you have, maybe just as an addition, do you have a specific VTC which is training the PWDs? So that if you wanted to visit today, you can go and see the disabled undergoing training.
Yes.
Which one is that?
I can always ask you anytime you visit the Nora VTC and Waithaka, you will always find that we offering the same services to persons living with disability.
Yes, Professor?
Yeah, I just wanted to know from the governor, what kind of support is being given to these VTCs? Is it school fees or capitation? Number two, I wanted the governor to know that there are some governors who are giving free. We have just come from Trans Nzoia, where they have capped the cost of any training to 20,000. And the county government pays 18, and the parents pay only 2,000. Just came from the airline.
That is commendable.
Yeah.
It's something we can look at. You know, the Bible says, as iron sharpens iron, so does man sharpen man. If there's a good idea around county, it's something good. Yeah.
But what are you currently paying?
So we do budgetary provisions and fees. So for instance, we did, is it 71? 71 million shillings. Then for instance, from the bursaries, we've said that 1 million.
1 million is what per student? Capitation per student or?
We can calculate it.
Or what is it?
It's capitation. It's more or less capitation. Because we do 100 million for the ECDs and then 71 for the VTCs, and then another 85 million now from what. So each ward, we have 85 wards, has 7 million for bursary, but one of that million is to the VTCs. So that is 85 and 71. Then now the fees that are charged by by the different schools for the different courses. Then now that makes up the 3 sources of funding for the VTCs.
And do you have any partners in these VTCs?
Yes.
And what is the extent of their contribution?
Some of our partners, the first partner is Girl Child Network. They have really helped us in terms of the infrastructure. Then the second one is Catholic Relief Services. Then there's the World Vision. There's the Kenya Good Neighbors. They've done for us a block in Dandora, Greenlight College. Then there's Shofco, the Shining Hope for Communities. That have been our instrumental partners when it comes to VTC issues. Thank you.
Do you give startup kits to those who graduate from your centers?
Yes, that's what we do. Actually, for those who are graduating, we always give out the startup kits so that they can start something when they go back to the society.
Any proof of you doing that? Because Governor, this is very important. Let the Nairobi people know that you're doing that. It might even attract more students, so more learners. So I don't know whether you have any. Do you have any information on it in your document?
And while answering that, can they tell us whether they're in this KCB? KCB seems to be doing a lot in the rural counties.
Everyone is running away, going to rural counties. The need is here. You know, this is where there's a population, as you said. We can be able to provide that information.
Please let us have it.
You know, when a governor pays a carpet support to an MP of a bank, they will clean the carpet for you.
I'll try. They're just here at Kemkom. I'll go visit them. I'll talk to
Please give us that information. It's very important. Governor, the reason why we were asking about transition is because if you have 180 secondary schools and 11 VTCs, and I'm sure maybe percentage of transition to the university could be 30%. So can you imagine how many other young people you are offloading to the streets? You need to skill them so that at least they can be useful to themselves and even to you and lessen your burden.
I agree. We'll go out there to look for support to build more. The need is there. It is seen. The lack of this absorbing of young people affects everyone. That's, you know, if you look at crime rate, now everybody, when they finish school and they don't go to university or the college, what do? They get either into crime or they try and get a motorbike, you know, to ride. It's a challenge that I think needs to be faced head on, and we have made a compelling case, and I agree with you.
And Governor, I think also you should look at your enrollment, because as a county you should have deliberate campaign to actually make people be aware that these colleges are there, and that also will help in this county. Honorable Senators.
Maybe just last two for me.
Okay.
You know, I've heard the governor saying that the bursaries are back. That is news to me, because the last time the control of budget was not releasing funds to counties. Has she finally accepted the agreements under, is it 187 or 189?
189.
189 on the cooperation between counties. 187 of course will be transferred.
You know,
functions.
Yeah. Yesterday we had a meeting at the COG with it was a virtual meeting, and the controller had said there's a list of requirements that she had put for that to resume. And as I've explained, for me, my biggest challenge is those who are already on scholarship. So those requirements, once they're met, counties can be able to issue bursaries and scholarships. She's looking at it as almost a transfer, the intergovernmental agreement. So it's almost a transfer of, or a sharing. Because if you transfer it, it means that the money must come.
Yes, from the national.
187 says that first of all, the constitutional responsibility remains with the level of government that is originally mandated to perform that function, and the funding must then also follow it. And so it's a very convoluted argument. That's why I was saying what we're doing is just being pragmatic because of the pressure from the people to continue serving them in that manner, especially those who have been cut off midstream. But that is what she asked for. So what is left is a notification to the county assembly and the national assembly. We've done our county assembly notification. We've gazetted that intergovernmental agreement for counties. Makueni, Nairobi, Ranga, and I don't know why I keep forgetting the fourth one.
Chair, I think we need an urgent consultation with control of budget.
I've just informed.
Because I'm not aware
I've just informed our researcher that that is urgent, that we need to be informed so that we can be well conversant with their conversation with the COG.
But it's really, if you look at it critically, constitutionally, it is not a transfer of functions. If you transfer a function, the function first of all must be stated in the 4th schedule of the constitution. There's no function called bursary or scholarship in the 4th schedule. You have not transferred education, because if you transfer the function of education, it means that then that county that signs that intergovernmental agreement must also pay the teachers, must provide all the services of that function called education. So it's a very convoluted and warped, I find it to be warped logic.
No, Governor, what you're trying to do is pay the bill for the national government. To pay the bill for the national government...
Partially, because the bill is bigger.
No, you're trying to pay it, their bill nonetheless.
You see...
So when you take over the function of the other level, the resources as planned by the under the constitution is that the resources, remember the resource follow function mantra, the resources that were the equitable share for Nairobi County is budgeted for do not include resources for secondary education, do not include resources for university. So for you to take over that function, you're actually paying the bill for national government. The correct position, as I first told you, there is no function called social protection. So you're using some convoluted arrangement around social protection, cooperation, collaboration to justify. But the correct position is this: governors can, and the late party leader actually suggested that the function should come to the counties. So until the function has come to counties, you can assist the national government only through conditional grants. They allow you to give those bursaries, but they must give you the money.
I agree with you 100% philosophically and in principle.
But practically, what you are trying to do, you are helping them kill devolution.
But let's help the governor to tell us what the first 2 governors told us. They said this thing is pressure from the ground.
No.
It has nothing to do with the functions of Schedule 4. At that time, I think this social whatever had not been developed. But when the first 2 governors came here, they said, we must tell you that we are the ones suffering on the ground because the public is on the ground and the national government is miles away. So we agreed that, but we said, when you go for your summit, please discuss this function so that it is formally devolved and then the money follows the function. That is all we have been saying. We can see we are insisting on why Nairobi can sit with 11 VTCs. It is so painful because it means Nairobi is filling the streets with kids that are not literate, kids that are semi-skilled, and we are at risk because Nairobi is doing a lot of buildings and we have a lot of fake masons there also. Because when they come in, a contractor will say, where Shiga is, Shiga Mawa, Shiga, instead of skilling them.
In principle I agree. But practically, and I think what the Prime Minister was saying, which is true. You see, what is devolution? Devolution is based on the principle of subsidiarity. The principle of subsidiarity is so simple. It's just that a function is best offered at the lowest level compatible with the benefit of that function. We are better placed as counties to run with that education. We are better placed, we understand the needs of where we are. So actually what we need to have is a full transfer. But this one, what we have is a mongrel. It is half German Shepherd, half Bosco.
Thank you. Yes, Senator Mudama.
Yeah. Governor, even as you are these VTCs in Nairobi, and you've invited us to come, which we also to visit. We visited some of the counties and we found that they didn't have any equipment in these VTCs. So, as you rebuild more, equip the ones which are there. If it's mechanic, make sure that there is a vehicle there they are dealing with. If it's electrical, make sure that they have all the electrical equipments, and even machinery, make sure that they have all the equipments that they need there to do their work and to learn efficiently. Thank you.
And I want to assume those are your closing remarks.
But have we started closing remarks, because there's one question here on number 17.
Okay,
That the
sir.
county is now shifting from NITA to NEC to TVET SIDAC. We are not there already. What are the challenges? When do we see ourselves having TVET SIDAC examination?
I'll ask my director to respond to that.
Thank you, Chair. The challenge was the training of the retooling of the instructors, and that has already been done, and now we are going to move fully to SIDAC. Thank you.
Are you satisfied, Senator? Okay. Senator Kenya, please, and give your closing remarks.
Madam Chair, I'm looking at some of these VTCs. They are not registered under TVETA. I don't know what that would mean. But Madam Chair, everybody here is talking about increasing without looking at numbers of enrollment. It doesn't make sense. You're telling the governor to increase the number of VCTs, but when I do average of the 12 that he has, the number of students in every VCT is 90. So why are we talking about increasing the numbers instead of us talking of enrollment? Because if you look a place like Kiwanja, we have only 24 students. I'm reading page 523. If you look at, but that one, the numbers again are confirmed. If you look at page 522, many of them are not registered under TVETA. If you look at numbers, Kiwanja has 24. You go straight to Jericho. So Kahawa Garrison has 6. Jericho has 18. You go to Old Mathare, and I thought Mathare we have many people. The one that you, Vice Chair, you're saying they will be criminals. You only have 20. 20. You have 20. You go to Moja, VCT.
That has to be withdrawn. Let's not characterize people from any party.
Okay, sorry, I withdraw and apologize. I'm sorry, I didn't want to say that. Sorry, I withdraw. No, I agree. I withdraw and apologize. But I'm dealing with the numbers. So, Madam Chair, let us talk about enrollment.
Senator, I think I'd asked the governor.
I asked that question. Yeah. I asked that question. It was not answered.
Okay, then maybe you could answer, because I also asked what he's doing, whether he's got a deliberate effort to enhance the enrollment in this.
The challenge is now we even have universities offering some of these artisan courses. And somebody, for instance, Kiwanja is next to KU. Would you prefer a certificate from Kiwanja or from Kenyatta University?
And also they get capitation.
Capitation. So also, some of these institutions should leave this to a different level, because you can get it from the technical university here, or you go to Old Mathare. It's a walking distance. Where will you go to?
That's where
so we can do our campaign, increase the capacity.
Yes.
But still, once that is done, let's have a distinction.
Yeah, you have said it differently from the way another governor said it. He said, can you stop universities from doing this certificate? So we want you to give us those kind of suggestions, so that we rain on the minister to make sure that they have structured, without giving up.
We can phase it out.
So that without giving up on these young ones, we can actually encourage them and tell them we are the only ones giving you the best SIDAC course. And because now, what TVET is doing now is going for the unit only. When you do plumbing, it's plumbing only, and they are removing the theories. Universities have too much theories. And if they convert themselves again to teach the way the TVETA is proposing, then they are ruining everybody else. So we wanted to go the other way and tell us, can you stop these characters from invading
I don't want an immediate stop, because then I have only your 11. it is a gradual phasing out as we build that capacity. But secondly, I think the language of leaders. You know, when you tell people, kama umeanguka mtihani, enda kwa hii, no one wants to be seen going to that place.
That is why it was changed from village polytechnic,
you know, because
to vocational
you
training
look
centers.
like you're a failure, you know, and then stigmatizing. But if you go to countries like Germany, the top students, the ones who do the best, are the ones who go to do this, you know, technical works. It's the other way around, you know.
Chair, I think, Governor, it begins with your policy.
Yeah.
If you get the information, the data, you'll be able to know, one, this is our catchment area. Two, we need to do advocacy. Three, your department should be able to tell you we have 80 universities around Nairobi, and 50 of them are offering this at this level, and then you decide what is the value proposition that I'm going to put to my public, VTCs, that will bring the most needy to come to this particular VTC. So it always begins with policy. It gives you data, it gives you the information that will enable you to plan for the situation.
And I think also, Governor, you could be much better off if you had many learners you'll be dealing with the issue of stigma, like a county like Makueni. Makueni, actually, stigma of these kids being in vocational training centers, wearing uniforms and all that is an issue. But the enrollment is very high.
And you see, it's because you don't have universities there. You don't have other colleges in Makueni or in Trans Nzoia. You know, I have a village home in Trans Nzoia. There's no alternative. But in this city, every 2 steps is a college and a university on top of a bar. Even here, even next door here is a university.
That is agreeable.
Yeah, there are 3 around here.
It's agreeable. That's understandable. That's agreeable, Governor. Honorable Senators, I think Kenya, you did your closing remarks. Please, if you've not.
I have to say that I'm impressed by the presentation of Governor of Nairobi, and I want to commend him on the feeding program. It is the best thing that you are doing to the students of Nairobi, and congratulations. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Senator Madama.
I just want to congratulate the governor for the good work that you are doing, and remember that you are from the Senate, so don't let the Senate down. Keep up doing the good work, because you know what you ought to do. Actually, we should, when you come here, you appear before the Senate, you should just be flowing with whatever questions which are there, and congratulations for that, but check on your water issues.
Senator Marango.
Hata mimi ningetaka kumpa kongole gavana kwa kupambana. Unajua kuwa gavana Nairobi na si kwa mbaya, lakini tukiangalia gavana Nairobi, gavana wa Lamu na kwingine, hapa lazima ufanye kazi na ni ngumu. Na pia unajua Nairobi pia watu ni vichwa ngumu, sio kama kwingine. Kwa hivyo kupambana unapambana. Yenye ningekuuliza gavana ni kwamba, kwa sababu wewe ulisomea chekechea hii, nimekwambia Lang'ata. Sijui kama nitarudi huko tena, kwa sababu nilikuwa naona yuko hapa na ashatoka, lakini wewe uko na nafasi ya kwenda pale uangalie venye mambo iko pale, kwa sababu Lang'ata ni jela ya kimataifa na pia watoto wengi wanazaliwa pale, wengi wanapelekwa pale. Uende utathmini na uweze kuangalia ile maneno iko hapo. Nikimalizia pia naweza sema ni kweli kwamba kuna mabadiliko katika sekta ya maji Nairobi, kwa sababu kuna mahali naishi na najua imekuwa kizungumkuti, lakini hata kama sisi ambao tumetoka kaunti ambazo ziko kule bado tuna matatizo kama hayo. Lakini endelea kupambana na hiyo hali kuhakikisha kwamba pia umefaulu. Ya mwisho kabisa, ni ngumu sana kushindana na wewe kwa sababu unaelezea na unapitisha. Tungependa pia tukuje tuangalie, kujionea sisi wenyewe wakati tutapanga mkutano kamati, utuonyeshe tukiwa huko sasa uko ambapo kazi imefanyika. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Mwenyekiti.
Thank you, Senator Muma.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Just to say that I'm happy at the conversation we've had today. The clarity of mind you have, even as we have pointed out the issues that we think you need to point out. I think your comms team needs to do a better job in terms of communicating what you're doing, in my view. Senator Kavindu says she's proud of you because you are part of the Senate. I need to add, apart from being part of the Senate, maybe your DNA is not bad. So just to thank you, but to ask that as by the time we come, I would request the issues where we found gaps, trigger your teams to immediately begin on that, so that next year at this time, we have a better report to give around Nairobi in terms of the little things that we raised.
Thank you, Senators. Vice Chair.
Thank you. I think, like the other senators who worked with him have said, at least he has not disappointed. I'm glad he apologized at the beginning, because it's not like Sakaja to skip things. That is not his nature, and I was very surprised. But the kind of information you have at the fingertips tell us that you were not fearing to appear. So I think we are happy with that. Governor, the only last statement I would have said is that you check the numbers. Let's check the figures that are outside, which should be accommodated in ECDE, so that we don't leave them out. Whether they're in informal or formal settlement areas, please pay focus on them, because you will leave a wonderful legacy if the informal sector will be your greatest supporters at the end of your term, whether one or two, because those are people that you change once and for all, and let's have them also have their children going as far as university. Also the same thing with the VTCs. Please, let's focus on the numbers who are outside, not those who are inside. How many would have loved to come in? And it looks like it requires a deliberate campaign, even in high schools and secondary schools. Once in a while, as they're having education days, you walk in, or your officers walk in to talk to them about this course. That should not be taken as though village polytechnic is the worst thing. If you can empower them, you will change. And we have seen that where there is that kind of motivational speeches, speaking to these people, they actually change and they go back. As you started, I want to comment on that yes, education is the only equalizer. And if you can give to the low and the high at the same time, it will really be very beneficial. Otherwise, thank you so much for the information. I think we have got a lot of information to digest.
Thank you. Maybe before I close, Your Excellency, I can give you a chance to also have your closing remarks.
Thank you very much, Chair and Honorable Senators, starting with my Deputy Speaker and Senator Muma, Senator Rango, Senator, my neighbor, Senator from Machakos, and Senator Kinywa. You know, somebody said you campaign in poetry and you govern in prose. When you're in the Senate, which I was in, it is very easy to say to a governor, this is not happening, this is not happening. And I was very vocal. I was one of the loudest senators. When you get to the driving seat, every morning I wake up, I am a doctor, an engineer, it has rained, I am a teacher, I am a chef, I must cook for the children, there's a pothole, you are, everything in one. And I keep saying that to be a governor is the best testing ground for any job on earth, because you must have the mind of a CEO, the heart of a social worker, you must have the resilience of a politician, thick skin, innocence of a dove, and shrewdness of a snake, all in one person. And so I'm very grateful, because today's meeting has really helped me in areas that maybe I had not looked at as much as I can, because of the immediacy of challenges. I'm looking at the weather and I'm seeing it's going to flood, and immediately, and it will flood on Akura Road and Akena Road, but Sakaja is blamed. You know, that's another thing Senate must look at. If they don't give us the funds, all these roads which you have problems, Jogo Road, Langata Road, this one outside here, they're not under the counties. I think it's time, and I would want to work on, I'll take some time, maybe a few days, to work on a paper that I would want to come with to the Senate, even maybe through COG, on areas that I've seen have gaps in devolution, so that you can support. Because those are areas where you will find now, you know, casualties in counties, not because of their own doing, but because of the structural, you know, challenges or systemic issues that come with devolution. I want to assure you that you will see a marked improvement on these areas. Again, I am sorry that I missed the other meeting. I would never, you know, normally I'm told when I'm called to Senate, first of all, the media are more than usual. I don't know why, but I like them. They're my friends, and there is quorum. And so when people have come from different parts of the country and then you're not there, it was not something of my doing. And I thank you that you accepted that apology, because, you know, when they put in my office, they kept that summons on my desk until yesterday. I told them, please, you know, this thing is giving me a bad feeling. Can you take it out of my? I've seen it. You know, you can't keep it just hanging there on my desk. And it's not something that I would want to happen again. So please, we will welcome you to the city. Don't come with one of your colleagues I saw fighting somebody somewhere. That one we will not accept him, because what I like how we are very pragmatic. You know, this oversight is to help. It is to grow. It is to support. It is not, you know, it's not a disciplinary process. You know, it's a process to support. When I have my officers here, they can hear the questions that are being asked and where we need to pull up our socks. So that we will do. Thank you for the compliment on the school feeding and all the compliments. We will keep doing it, and we hope that we can cover many more schools. So let's keep it up. Senator Catherine, Senator Auntie, you know, I can't just call her Senator without giving her the respect. One of the words I'm living with is policy. Policy. And you know, as a senator, that is exactly what I would ask a governor. And we have a department that has actually been preparing a lot of draft policies. I need to look at what they have. And I agree, once you have policy, then the immediacy and urgency of what happens today and tomorrow can be handled while dealing with, you know, medium to long term issues that are of a systemic nature and structural nature. So thank you so much for that advice. And we will consult you. I don't know as a senator if you can do, because you're a very good consultant on some of these things, even in your previous engagement. You can guide us on the right way to go, whether we work with Kipra. Oh, wonderful.
Thank you, Governor.
Thank you, Senator.
You've asked that. I was going to offer that and tell you that you can consult her. Governor, one reason why you say that the press is always full house and there's full house in the room is because we want to remind you we are also residents of Nairobi. So whatever you're doing, that's what we consume, and we are here actually not as much as we are senators, we're also the residents of this great city of Nairobi. I also want to thank you and maybe just tell you, Governor, let's avoid negative publicity. You are a senator, and I think you can agree how important a conversation that we've had a day like today has been so productive, so informative. We've learned from you, you've learned from us, from what we've seen in other counties, and from that we can help each other build this country. And I think I'm happy that you appreciate how important it is to take care of the young ones especially. In fact, I'm happy that as we keep on saying, formation time starts from 4 years to 7, you're even going further from the beginning, so that is very important. And I think to us it is important that we had this conversation today, and we want to assure you that in very near future we are going to visit quite a number of your facilities so that we can see what you've given us on paper is what is on ground. Honorable Senators, allow me to thank the Senate of Nairobi, because for once, let's appreciate that his engagement with the governor was very cordial and very productive, and he gave us insights of where he thinks there are problems, and the governor has been able to answer him on site that whatever is happening, is exactly how it is, and whatever is not happening is going to be done. Thank you once again, Honorable Your Excellency Governor. Thank you, Honorable Senators. The meeting stands adjourned until Tuesday. Thank you.